Most people will tell you that lenses and lights are more important than cameras, and most people, most of the time, are right, even when a lens costs almost 3 times as much as a camera. Hello my babies, Jeremy Burchard here, and welcome to another episode of Gear Talk, where we talk about the tips, techniques, and gear used to make our videos. If you already know Moonlight Social, you know that we are a pop rock duo based out of Nashville, Tennessee, that makes all of our own music and videos and short films. And if you didn't know Moonlight Social, now you do. I am one half of the band, but I am also a director, cinematographer, and editor who shoots tons of projects for other clients, including music videos, commercials, narrative work, and more. If you are interested in learning more about how we make our videos and seeing the finished result, well, you're in the right place. Please consider giving us a subscribe and a thumbs up on this video so you can help our channel grow and we can reach more people and make better videos for you. All right, lenses, more specifically higher end lenses and special lenses like this guy. Are they worth being one of the most expensive parts of your kit? This is the Vazen 28mm 1.8x anamorphic lens for micro four thirds cameras, and it is one of my most favorite pieces of gear in my entire kit. If you want to understand more about the history and technical aspects of anamorphic lenses, you should check out the YouTube channel Anamorphic on a Budget, which is an entire channel dedicated to understanding and achieving the anamorphic look. But that's what we're going to talk about today, the anamorphic look. Anamorphic lenses are often associated with a more cinematic Hollywood-style film, which in turn makes them feel a bit more expensive. They provide a wider field of view, and they also have those signature lens flares that streak across the entire image, as well as providing some kind of cool-looking artifacts and bokeh shapes and general grunginess that really gives the image character. Ultimately, they feel a lot more organic than a typical DSLR with a spherical lens. All of the footage you're seeing in this video was shot using a combination of this anamorphic lens and the Blackmagic Pocket 4K camera. Between all of the characteristics of the lens and this camera's color science and raw profile, it's much easier to achieve the type of image you'd associate with something like a Hollywood movie than if you were using a comparable camera from the Sony Alpha line or the Canon R line. And for the type of content that I create and the type of content I aspire to create, that's really valuable. I just have a lot more interest in creating images that feel a little bit dirtier, a little bit more filmic, a little bit more organic. And it's funny because at this point, it's almost harder to achieve a less picture-perfect image than it is to just get a hyper-clean Rec 709 image out of a DSLR. When it comes to the Vazen 28mm anamorphic lens specifically, I find it to be a really solid combination of both depth of field and sharpness. Because it's on a micro four thirds camera, the 28mm depth of field is actually closer to a 56mm full frame equivalent, which makes this lens fit a little more into that nifty 50 category of lens that could really be used to film entire projects if you needed to. And while the depth of field is closer to a 50mm lens, because it has a 1.8x squeeze, that means that you're getting the horizontal field of view of about a 31mm lens. So in essence, you're basically getting almost a wide-angle lens combined with the depth of field of a really popular 50mm style lens. But the real secret weapon about this lens, as you can see, is its size. Though it is certainly heavier than similarly sized lenses, this 28mm is the perfect size to fit on gimbals, car mounts, and to not get too tiring when you're running handheld, especially when you compare it to its 40mm brother. I have no idea if it's possible to make all of the focal lengths of lenses this size, but holy cow, that would be a major game changer. All right, but what about drawbacks for this lens? Well, a T2.2, it's not the fastest lens in the world. This hasn't really been a big issue for me because I shoot on the Blackmagic's dual native ISO of 3200, but I do understand that a lot of people like to have as fast a lens as they possibly can, and for a cinema lens, T2.2 is not considered that fast. Also, people have commented that the aperture ring feels a little bit easier to move than the focus ring, and I totally see that, but this has not been an issue for me, but it is something worth noting. The last issue with this lens is that 1.8x is not a super common squeeze factor. So when you are trying to see a de-squeezed image in your camera, you might not end up getting the option to choose 1.8. This includes the Pocket 4K, which you can currently either see in a 2x de-squeeze or a 1.33x de-squeeze. So I shoot in the anamorphic mode, which is a 4:3 sensor crop, and automatically de-squeezes the image 2x. What that essentially means is that the image is a little bit more smushed than it really will look in post. Again, this is not a huge deal. It helps you with framing. I've never had a client ask why their face looks fatter or anything like that. Of course, this doesn't really matter when it comes to editing because you're gonna de-squeeze and post anyways, but when it comes to previewing the image, it would be nice if more cameras supported the option to choose 1.8x. Right now, the only way to really do that is to use something like the Portkeys monitor, which allows you to choose a custom anamorphic de-squeeze. That's great if you wanna hook it up, but if you don't wanna have an extra monitor on it, you're pretty much just gonna have to go with viewing a 2x de-squeeze image with a 1.8x squeeze factor lens. Now, of course, things like lighting and location usually play an even more important role in achieving a truly filmic or cinematic look. But all things equal, the reason you should feel comfortable paying more for this lens than a camera is really twofold. For one, it's all mechanical, which means it's more likely to last longer than something with a bunch of electrical components. This in turn means it holds its value for longer. I'm confident that a lens like this will probably only lose 10 to 15% of its value. So if you wanted to resell it down the road, you're gonna recoup a lot of what you paid for it. Second, it just affects the footage in such a specific and natural way that is so hard to fake or replicate in post. Good lenses will always be a good investment, and the Vazen 28mm is a really good lens. You could see more videos shot using the Vazen 28mm with the Blackmagic Pocket 4K by watching one of our recent music videos like All My Friends or Darling Eat Your Heart Out, or by watching our spooky short film Sad.